Good morning to you, wherever you may be in the world today. Clements here from Santa Monica, California, United States of America. March, I think, 16, 2021. Today's talk, not an easy one to give, but an important one for me to share. Words for Meng Online, whom I'm calling, and much of the civilized world is calling, and I would say it's fair to say that most of the world will start calling Meng Online, the former general of Burma's military, a terrorist at large. There's no ambiguity to you, Meng Online, that your behavior, your orders, your consciousness is likened to that of a terrorist. Whether it be a bin Laden with Al-Qaeda, whether it be a Boko Haram in Nigeria, whether it be a Pol Pot in the Khmer Rouge, whether it be the evil of the Taliban openly assassinating anyone, any boy and any girl, just as you are doing today and you have done for 6 straight weeks, assassinating girls and boys to maintain your role as supreme terrorist of beloved Myanmar. These words today are to you, Meng Online, terrorist at large, and to the world leaders of the free countries of the world, the ambassadors and the representatives of the 193 nations at the United Nations here in New York City. May I invite anyone who watches this video live right now, anyone who watches this once it's up on Facebook, may I encourage you to be a force activator, a force multiplier. May these words spread worldwide. May I encourage you to do that which is right, to share these words as frequently as you feel moved. Share it with your friends with the header, please share worldwide as frequently as possible. Let these words go into the inbox of leaders, ambassadors, congresspeople, the United States President, prime ministers all throughout the world, and especially to senior members of the terrorist group within Myanmar today, including Meng Online. May the words spread. Please share these words. They're important, and there are not many more to say here in the midst of the darkest time that I have ever known in my 43 years of association with beloved Burma. I am only the witness to videos and photographs and information that is boldly and bravely being shared by the boys and girls in Burma when the internet is up, and primarily the Irrawaddy, friends of mine, in hiding, underground, presenting information that none of us in the world would have access to. And therein lies what we see going on the streets, in the homes, in the regions all throughout beloved Myanmar, is nothing short of horror. A complete campaign of terror. It's unimaginable for me to think of being in the mind and body of the women and the men, the boys and girls at home, on the streets, in the prisons, in the gulags, interrogated, tortured, bruised, mourning the loss, that incredible vortex of emotions called extreme trauma, the rupture of normalcy, intersecting with outrage and the scream of the soul, the battle cry that we will not cower, and equally those people who are terrified and become obedient and find themselves curling metaphorically or literally into the corners under their beds for the fear of you, Meng Online's terror and those men around you willing to assassinate your fellow Buddhists, your fellow citizens, your sisters, your doctors, your civil servants. You are nothing short from your behavior a full-blown criminal, a terrorist today. And I say to the world community, stop referring to him as a general in a military. Designate him, Ming Online, as a terrorist at large. Why? Because his behavior is worse than that of a serial killer. Over and over again, brutally showing the world and the people of Myanmar the true nature of how deep and dark the evil is embedded in his own Namarupa, his own mind. We must see the action speaking louder than words. For 11 years since Daw Aung San Suu Kyi was freed in November of 2010, she and many courageous men and women from all sectors of Burma have given their very best moments of their lives to the development of decency, rule of law, democracy, the respect for universal human rights, the right to speak and to protest and to print without fear of persecution. 11 years from 2010, and that's on top of the years from 1988 up until 2010. They gave dialogue and decency and the willingness to come together even with enemies, including you, Ming Online, including Tan Shui, who is very much influential in what we're seeing today. Her father, as we know, is the man, the visionary behind the very military, the Thamada in Burma, the armed forces, meant to embody dignity and support and protection for the people, not to terrorize them as you have done and you are doing. Point one, you are a designated terrorist, and it's known as MAH-SAC, Ming Online, in the State Administration Council. It's not a council, it's a terrorist group, perfectly analogous to the Taliban, but worst, even the beheading of ISIL. You're beheading democracy in Myanmar. I had a friend who was very closely associated at one point with the earliest dictator in Myanmar, Ne Win. And Ne Win was oblivious through his narcissism and xenophobia to what he had done to decimate the country. You're a descendant, Ming Online, to that decimation, to that evil. Your grandfather embedded in your own mind the obedience to terror as virtue. You're the latest inheritor of dictatorship, now designated as a terrorist. But in the latter years, if you understand Burmese history, and perhaps you should refresh your mind, even the impervious Ne Win across the lake from Daw Su, 7 same-colored limousines anytime he ever left his prison encampment in that mansion across the lake from Inlia. And no one knew which of those limousines he would get in, because he knew he was diabolically hated by the people, even people close to him. And he feared for his life, and he'd open up a door and then close it for fear that it would explode or a cyanide capsule would kill him and poison him. And then he would get into a car that even the driver did not know it would be he that chose to drive him through the next city or the place within the city. Why do I bring this up? Ming Online, you have created a circumstance where you're never going to be safe in your life ever again. You've diabolically crushed the power of democracy, the restoration of decency through the power of dialogue, through Aung San Suu Kyi and other people in the government. And you've basically said, talking is not what I want to do. I want to terrorize the people. And that's what you're doing. And the result of that action, the cause and effect, the karma and the vipaka, you are putting yourself, you have put yourself into the position of a ne-win. You are no longer safe anywhere you ever go. Your servants, the people most loyal to, even your own wife, will not have the bravery to tell you the truth about how she really feels. Your daughter and your son now, they are pariahs around the world by association with you, their father. They are never safe again, and quite frankly, you are never safe from them. In a heartbeat, for their own freedom, for the freedom of their enterprises, their friends, for their mother, they may well put a cyanide capsule. I'm not threatening you. I'm just speaking about history. When there's evil, people use evil means to take out evil. And you've created a circumstance in the world and in your own country where the only medicine that you listen to is the gun and evil and assassination and suicide and the worst possible outcomes. You're never safe again. I am your ally, of a friend of your country, talking to you as a psychologist, as a de facto psychiatrist, as a consultant, any diplomat in the world, every ambassador in the world would tell you, you are no longer safe from anyone because of what you've done and what you're doing. How does that feel to create a circumstance where there's nothing that you could do to walk out of the evil circumstances of what you've created? You look at World War II. I think it was July 20th, 1944. Was it Claus von Stauffenberg, who attempted for quite a long time to create a military coup to overthrow who? Adolf Hitler. July 20th, 1944. An aborted coup in which there were dynamite used, just that close to the killing of Adolf Hitler. What a world it would have been, and how different it would have been to end the extermination of people and deplorables, gays, trans, Jews, Catholics, civil servants exterminated. How unfortunate the world was that that military coup did not succeed. You have put yourself in a circumstance where even your most trusted friends in uniform, fellow terrorists today, are going to turn on you tomorrow, whether it's tonight or tomorrow or next week or next month. You have created a circumstance by your own choice to jail Aung San Suu Kyi, to imprison other elected parliament members, to terrorize the nation, to terrorize the ethnicities for years and decades, and you have now created yourself a prison camp in Naypyidaw where you're not safe anywhere you go, and you're not even safe in your own home. Even your own cooks, you will never know if they poisoned your food. I'm just telling you the facts of what history has shown. When evil becomes evil to the point of what you've done, no one can be trusted ever again. No one can be trusted ever again in your life. You have no friends. You cannot trust their words to be ones of joint alignment or solidarity with your evil. They will look after their own interests. You're over. You are done. World leaders, how many images do we need to see? How many streets do we need to see burning? How many boys and girls do we need to see their heads blown off? How many times do I have to see a video of an out-of-control member of Ming Online's terrorist group unloading automatic bullets or rifle into the head of someone already dead? To say that Burma has turned into a war zone or a battleground or that it's emerging into Assyria. World leaders, where are you? What are you thinking? What will it take to motivate you through your complacency and the euphemism of diplomacy, which is nothing other than a euphemism for apathy and collusion? That's the point I want to make. Any non-action to end the terrorism in Burma today is complicity with terrorism. We could have ended the Third Reich, but much of the world, through business and finance and banking, manufacturing and laziness and impotence, colluded with mass extermination. How stupid a species are we? You're an elected world leader. What actions am I advocating? The people of Myanmar have shown us what they want to do. They're doing it. Doctors and nurses have walked off their job and opened free clinics. They have been jailed. They have been terrorized, and likely they're being tortured, and some of them being killed and raped at this moment. That is not heartbreak. That is outrage. I don't know about you, but I don't know how a world leader could operate or even call themselves a leader, a diplomat, an ambassador, without a fair degree of empathy, meaning that we feel other as self, family, global citizens, brothers and sisters of democracy and freedom. Their violation, as we know in the word in South Africa, Ubuntu. I cannot be who I am without you. That which desecrates you desecrates me. It's another word for Ubuntu and empathy together. And with courageous metta and compassion in action, we combine it with empathy and Ubuntu, and we act on behalf of another nation as our family, as our mother, as our brother. What are we if we not are a nation together as a family? I don't say, what will it take? Will it take a Rwanda? Will it take a Cambodia? Will it take a Bosnia? Do we need to see people televised being sniped and shot? Do we need to see people being gang raped on TV? Do we need to see an ethnic cleansing, a genocide? Do we need to report it as if something could have been done differently? Why don't we act? We're in complicity with terror by non-action. Okay, I'm a super hawk. I would have acted already. I've said it now for over 6 weeks. I would have sent one of those aircraft carriers meandering around the China Sea, the Nimitz or the Roosevelt, and brought it into the Andaman Sea off the coast of Myanmar and park it there with 3 fingers painted on the flight deck and let that terrorist group know that we are bearing witness, and meanwhile unload some of the billions and trillions of dollars that you spend on fat cat armaments and give it to the people of Myanmar and let them know that they will not go hungry. Their medicines and needs will be taken care of. We are there. We're holding not your back. We're holding your sustenance, your food. We're holding your safety. We're holding your heart. You are our family in democracy. Daw Aung San Suu Kyi is our sister in freedom. Otherwise, it's collusion with the Taliban. It's complicity with ethnic cleansing. It's not impotence. It's not laziness. It's not diplomacy. It is absolutely insanity in action. What would I advocate? What am I advocating? Outside of putting men and women on the ground in Myanmar? Let me say this too, it's just coming to me. When I was in the, I'll say in the outer ethnic areas of Myanmar, I don't want to say specifically, I met a number of foreigners there who had gone into the country secretly, not just a few, who were providing intelligence and tactical support for the ethnic armed groups. I asked them why, and they were unexplicitly clear. We have never seen in our lifetime something so black and white, so morally right and morally wrong. We don't take money. We're here to support that which is right. The desecration of autonomous people through an evil ethnic cleansing that was going on around the country. This is back in 88, 89, 1990. Many of you know I wrote a book called Burma, the Next Killing Fields. It was asked of me. I did not desire to write that. The Dalai Lama of Tibet was one of the only people who got it, and he wrote a foreword to that book. It's offered freely on my website. Get it, download it, read it. History is repeating itself. Why do I bring this up? Ming Online, you are now a lightning rod for men and women around the world from foreign countries to take up arms by all means necessary and to infiltrate your country. And they will do it. They're on their way. You know they're on their way. It's historically true. It goes on in Afghanistan, in Libya, in Syria, all throughout Africa. Many foreign fighters, highly trained, sophisticated fighters, will come into Myanmar. They're on their way, and they have one task: to make your life hell, to take you out. I'm not threatening you. I'm just talking openly. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a journalist. I'm just trying to do all I possibly can to turn back what seems to be the darkest moment in Myanmar history and let you know in a frank way, Ming Online, what you have created through your own actions and your own inaction to understand the importance of what you've done and what you could do. But you're beyond the pale at this point. Foreign fighters will infiltrate Myanmar tragically and sadly, and you will not be able to find them because you no longer have any trust with your wife, with your son, with your daughter, with your other senior terrorist commanders. No one in your vicinity will ever again look at you in the eye and say, you've got my deepest sense of trust. And people want you out. They don't want you dead. The criminal court in The Hague has what? Millions of dollars now on your head. Most of the people near you now are terrorists at large. The American U.S. State Department has a $5 million bounty to lead either to the incarceration or the death of criminals who commit crimes against humanity, i.e. terrorists. And that means you, Ming Online, and that means anyone around you, anyone associated with you. I'm just telling you the facts. It's on the State Department website. That's what you've created. And it's happening as we speak. Meanwhile, the water supply in Naypyidaw, never again will it be trusted. You can't trust anything that you put into your body that your life will continue the next minute. That's the condition that you've created for a terrorist. That's exactly what my country did in tracking down, step by step, Osama bin Laden. And we all know what happened. That's you. That's what you've created for beloved Myanmar. And you're terrorizing the people. And what can they do at this point? That's exactly why the elected leadership at large, in hiding, has openly declared to the people of the country the ethnic armed forces around Naypyidaw, all around the border areas of beloved Myanmar, to collectively unify into a federation of freedom fighters for democracy and the liberation of Myanmar. They have put up 3 fingers. You've unified them through your evil. You have multiple intersecting concentric circles of armed soldiers from outside the country and from inside the country at this point converging on you, Ming Online in Naypyidaw. And with that, no one in your life can you ever trust again that what you drink and what you eat and how you sleep is ever safe. That's history. Look what happened to Hitler. Look what happened to Mussolini. Look what happened to Pol Pot. Look what happened to Pinochet. Look what happened to Milosevic. That's you. That's you, Ming Online. You've created yourself to be a terrorist, the greatest terrorist in the world today, in beloved Myanmar. So what do I advise world leaders to do? It's exactly what the people of Myanmar are doing. Stop participating in the machinery and the machinations of evil. Stop complicity. Stop colluding. Stop supporting. And I know this is a tough one. This is where we need friends. We're so tied in financially and materially to each other. Without support, it's almost impossible to eat and to survive. The electricity going off, the internet going off. Most people can't survive for a minute without their phone. Food prices skyrocketing all throughout Myanmar, 30-40% higher than it was 6 weeks ago. That's starvation. I've been to Hlaing. They're already starving. This isn't just a physical assault with weapons. This is a diabolical ethnic cleansing through starvation. Psychological starvation, emotional starvation, and physical starvation and deprivation. Burma is turning into, quickly, a colossal failed state. Think Syria. Think the decimation of Rangoon, Malmin, Mandalay. It is happening faster than we could even imagine. And world leaders, do not let beloved Burma become the next Syria in South Asia. Is it the Myanmar Oil and Gas Enterprise? Is it MOGE? Myanmar Oil and Gas Enterprise. World leaders should look up that acronym, MOGE, and trace where that money goes. I think it's something close to $100 million cash being channeled into that country from oil companies in Malaysia, in Thailand, in South Korea, Total Oil Company in France, is it Chevron? $100 million is going into the hands of a terrorist group in Naypyidaw. That's inexcusable complicity. That's putting $100 million into the hands of Adolf Hitler. Stop economic complicity with genocide, ethnic cleansing, and terrorism. World leaders, those specific companies, and they're very clearly enunciated all over the internet. I don't know them by heart at the moment, except Chevron and Total, and I think there is one out of Malaysia and Thailand. Find them, and the CEOs, the board of directors, look into your heart. Do you want to be known as complicit with evil? You can get oil and gas and do what you need to do in profits from other sources, the least of which is God or Jesus or Allah or the Buddha or the Dhamma or the Sangha or Dana. You don't need more loot. Cut off the dollars, the baht, the jat, the rupiah, the money, the pound. Stop giving money to the terrorist Ming Online. That is so simple. It's just like turning off an electricity switch right now. Cease supporting $100 million a month to the Myanmar oil gas enterprise, which almost exclusively goes, I don't like using the word military coup leaders. It's just bullshit. Terrorist group evildoers. They are up there applauding and laughing at you, oil companies, because you're so addicted to money. Addicted to the crack cocaine of evil. Addicted to the heroin of your apathy. They know that you can't stop masturbating to money. And they've got you over the fucking barrel. And that is disgusting to me. Money, money, money. Why don't you watch A Magic Christian with Peter Sellers and Ringo Starr and see at the end of that movie how they're making a mockery of the power of greed, of men all dressed in suits in Wall Street and downtown London and all the financial districts of the world, wining and dining and living the luxurious life. And they open this big, huge vat, and we see a truck come in, and they pour into this huge open air vat animal entrails and blood and feces and urine. And we see Ringo paint with red paint on the side of this open air vat. Free money. And all these fat cats that own oil companies and stock options and Facebook and Instagram and telecommunication companies and armaments merchants, they're all walking towards the big open vat when they see the free money, and they smell this incredibly putrid evil of feces and urine and blood and entrails. Imagine that, if profit smells so putrid. And yet we see them put their hands over their mouths and their other hand closing the nostrils of their nose, and they walk up and get up on the ramp, and they get down on their knees, and they take one hand off their mouth, and they reach into the vat of liquefied shit and pull out big money because they're addicted to the masturbation of loba and greed. This isn't spoken word art. This isn't theater. This isn't satire alone. It's the epoxy of primarily what men do to masturbate to murder. The great evil of good and bad that we have to fight out on the stage set of our own consciousness. But I'm fucking tired of meditating. It's time to speak out and stand into solidarity with the people of Myanmar. Oil companies around the world, Chevron, Total, Thailand, Malaysia, South Korea, cease your collusion with the evil in Naypyidaw. Now, cut. China, Putin and Russia, what do you think you're on about, man? By giving guns and weapons and attack helicopters and MiG jets with precision-guided missiles and drones that kill and abuse. What are you really that evil? Yes. You are now supporting Adolf Hitler in Burma. That's an appropriate Pol Pot association. You're supporting Al-Qaeda. You're supporting a bin Laden. You're supporting a Boko Haram of men primarily that rape and kidnap boys and girls. Imagine if that was your daughter being raped and persecuted and assassinated. Where is our empathy, world leaders? Putin, Premier Xi Jinping, what is your, are you that cyborgian that all you care about is money and profit and that Western suit you wear and your cyborg predictable bullshit? Everything out of your mind is a lie. And it's shown by giving guns and attack support and maintenance and intelligence to a terrorist group in Naypyidaw, the capital of evil in Myanmar today. Along with the immediate ceasing of the collusion with supporting the evil through oil and gas and money, weapons, oil, gas, and guns, oil, gas, and guns, oil, gas, and guns, oil, gas, guns, and cash. Why can't world leaders see that they should demand everyone in the world community, every ambassador at the United Nations should look to their fellow and sister ambassadors, and they should mock and shame and isolate in every way, shape, or form any lack of immediacy that their government does not today cease collusion with guns, oil, gas, and money, with the evil Naypyidaw, Ming Online. It has to become intolerable to the point where the stench of collusion outweighs everything, and people who are addicted to the masturbatory need of greed cut their addiction and stop colluding with guns, oil, gas, and cash with Ming Online. That's how we support democracy, Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, the civil disobedience movement in Burma. We can't allow them just to do it on their own. They're working like slaves there, making plastics and cars and garments and shoes and sandals to be sold to the rest of the world. The garment industry, the plastic industry, the car industry, every industry in the world, those of you who do that work, let it be known, do your due diligence. Any company in the world that is doing business with the terrorist group in Naypyidaw, they must today stop their collusion, their complicity with the Third Reich, with Hitler, with Mussolini, with Pinochet, with Al-Qaeda, with Pol Pot, with bin Laden, with the Taliban. It is inexcusable. The wives of these ambassadors, the wives and husbands, the stockholders of these companies, they should scream digitally, call everyone in the company doing business. We should evacuate every economic form of collusion with the evil in Naypyidaw right now. That is how we combat evil in the world today as a civilized globe. I won't say I don't know why, although it breaks my heart. Why aren't we just demanding every day in every way the release of Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, of the President Win Myint, of the Nayaka U Win Tain, of Sean Turnell, the economic advisor from Australia, the 2,145 other important women and men, elected leaders, journalists, doctors, nurses, monks and nuns, filmmakers and writers, celebrities and influencers, musicians and singers, writers, dancers, intellectuals, novelists. How are we not beaming them up as images all over the sky of our conscience? These are the ones that Ming Online is terrified of. We don't know what he's doing to them behind the iron curtain of darkness, except that we've seen people who he deems less important. NLD figures in Rangoon who were Muslim, elected leaders. He let it be known that they were captured and violently tortured. And he let the images of their bodies that were desecrated by acid and beatings to be seen around the world, to let the people of Myanmar and the people of the world know this is your future if you ever dream of democracy again. Free all the people, world leaders. Don't write things. Have press conferences. Talk to Ming Online. President Biden, get on television and address not the nation, but the world. Tell Ming Online to stop. And meanwhile, tell the world, oil companies, gas companies, garment factories, guns manufacturers, all the ones that are illicit, everyone who brings guns and munitions, either above ground or underground, trace them. President Biden, Prime Minister Trudeau, the leaders of Australia, of Germany, of Italy, Sweden, every leader, get on national TV and talk to Ming Online and talk to the CEOs. Don't do it behind scenes. Let the world see your moral courage like we see the moral courage of the boys and girls on the streets and the homes of Myanmar. And tell, today we cease participation with the white supremacist Adolf Hitler. We cease participation with the South Asian Osama bin Laden, the Pol Pot of Burma. Ming Online. That is so doable. It is inexcusable that there's any lack of immediacy. And I'll repeat before I end today. The Myanmar Oil Gas Enterprise, MOGE, owned, operated by the totalitarian evil organization out of Naypyidaw, run by the terrorist at large, former General Ming Online, presently terrorist at large Ming Online. He runs a terrorist group called MAH-SAC, Ming Online, MAH, the State Administration Council, SAC. It should be seen as a Boko Haram, a Khmer Rouge, the Taliban, ISIL, or Al-Qaeda. It's no longer Myanmar military. Cut all money, oil, and gas. Thailand, Malaysia, South Korea, China, France, America. Cease today. And if those CEOs and the senior corporate leaders of those oil and gas companies, those massive conglomerates, may the stockholders begin to immediately divest, make phone calls and send texts. We know their names, we know their addresses, we have their email addresses, they have their websites. Flood their websites, flood their inboxes, flood their secretaries, divest, do everything humanly possible. Call your congresswomen and congressmen, your senators, all your leaders in elected democracies in Canberra, in Ottawa, in London, in Washington. Demand your future depends on divestment from the murder machine out of Myanmar today run by MAH-SAC, Ming Online. No more cash, no more guns, no more gas, no more oil, no more garments, no more slave labor, no more car parts, no more food, no more seafood, no more rubies, no more pearls, no more lumber. No more, no more, no more. Put 3 fingers up, world. No more, no more, no more. Let that be the mantra of the civilized world. And let those leaders, we see you, we know you. You must cease and desist right now. No more oil, no more gas, no more complicity, no more negotiation. Stop and act now. Especially the cash, the guns. Find those bank accounts of the senior members of the terrorist group. Hidden accounts. Where are they? The Switzerland of South Asia, Singapore. Find those accounts, numbered accounts, offshore accounts. Find them in China. Find them wherever they may be. Trace them back. Cut their funds. Don't just sanction them. Dry them up. Remove their nutrient of money, of cash, of security, of privilege, of profit, of prestige. Delegitimize them in every way, shape, and form. A through Z, the world over. Burma is not just South Africa. Burma is the lightning rod to stop the latest designated terrorist group in the world. Ming Online State Administration Council. Call it what it is. It's a terrorist group terrorizing its own people. And may this step today go around the world, be a force multiplier, listeners. We're in this together. Myanmar is our country. The globe is our country. The world is our world. We're fighting for the future of freedom for our children's children and the sanctity of nature and peace and democracy. It's not just here and now. Let this video be shared worldwide multiple times, thousands of times. Why are we waiting? What are we doing that's more important? People are dying. The country's being lost. They're imprisoning. They're torturing. They're sending a message to the people of Myanmar. Do as we say or die in torture and rape. That's evil. That's Hitler. That's the Third Reich coming out of Burma. And remember, there's been an open revolution declared upon the terrorist group in Naypyidaw. I do not envision anything good coming out of it, but I understand the decision to do that. I can't say what I would do, but I am a super hawk. And I believe, like Aung San Suu Kyi, U Tin U, U Chi Mong, all the people that I knew that are alive, and Seda U Pandita, all the monks, all the nuns, my brothers and sisters, we would not stand and take this for a second. We have given you the best of our lives, Aung San Suu Kyi, all these leaders behind bars, so many you've tortured to death. No to this new generation. No to you, Ming Online, and let the world come together, be a lightning rod for the resurrection of a new birth of democracy in Burma. This war can be won if world leaders will act and stop our collusion with Hitler in Naypyidaw. Stop the cash, stop the guns, stop the oil, stop the gas, stop the support, stop the diplomacy, stop the dialogue. Cripple them through all forms, economically, financially, informationally, and don't give them any legitimacy whatsoever. Let those rifles go without ammunition. China, we want to say shame on you, but look what you've done to Tibet and to the Uyghurs and to Hong Kong. You're not human. You're devoid of God. You're devoid of the Spirit. You're devoid of Jesus. You're devoid of the Buddha. You're devoid of the sanctity of the soul. You're devoid of religion. You're devoid of beauty. You're devoid of being human. Putin, stop your guns to a terrorist group. Syria would not be Syria if it wasn't for the guns from Russia and Iran. Terrorism, colluding with terrorism is wrong. If we're not going to send flights and guns and missiles into the soullessness of Naypyidaw, deprive them of the oxygen of money, oil, gas, and support. Cease every form of collusion with the Third Reich in South Asia, known as Ming Online's terrorist group MAH-SAC. So please share this video worldwide, translate it into Burmese, get it into the heart and the mind of everyone in Naypyidaw, all throughout Burma, all throughout the world, the inboxes of our presidents and prime ministers. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on. What are you waiting for, United Nations? Demand the end of oil, gas, and arms now. Put those people who sell oil, gas, and guns to the terrorist group in prison. Do what you can to stop the murder machine before we have a killing fields like we saw in Cambodia or Rwanda. They are on a rampage. Stop them today. Your days are numbered, Ming Online. The world isn't watching anymore. They're at war with you. You're not safe. What you eat, when you go to sleep, you're not safe from your own family.